What is up, conscious monkeys? Welcome to another episode of Catch Up with Clayton. As always, I'm your host, Clayton. And today we have it's been a wild week. A wild week. Absolutely bonkers. And so this might end up being a rather long conversation. But it's really cool. It's really fascinating. And I'm going to get into really in depth on my Akashic story, which I believe I have mentioned on here multiple times. And if you're not a longtime follower, totally cool. Welcome. I'm going to get more in depth on my Akashic story in this episode. And I'm just going to do it right off the bat. I should warn you, I don't know how you listen to this or who you listen to it with, but it does get into sexual things a lot stronger than I have in the past. I'm ready to open up more about it. And so, which is really fascinating, but we'll get into that in a bit. But why I bring that up is if you have kids around, and you want to shield them from it. I don't know. I guess I just say it as a warning. I have no idea what I think about what you expose to kids at what age. That's out of my frame of reference, but just letting you know that we're going to be talking about porn. We're going to be talking about sex. So if that's something that makes you uncomfortable, well, maybe it's a reason you should listen. But I would like to also point out that, just be aware of who is listening with you, I guess. Anyhow, let me remind you of my original Akashic story. Let me think for a second how I want to actually play this out. Because what happened was on the night of 5/12/5/13, I had a dream. Let me think about this. Okay, I'm going to start with the Akashic story, so we remind everybody. I'm not sure if I made a catch up with Clayton about this Akashic story, but I know I have talked about it in past episodes. And if you're looking for those episodes, it was probably like around 10 or 11, maybe 16. 16 for sure is going to, I think, have it. Regardless, I'm going to give it to you here. Why am I delaying? I must feel uncomfortable. Going to be honest, I probably feel a little uncomfortable delivering this information because it's so wild and so out there. So if this is something that just blows you away, just take it as a fun story. But to me, this is probably real. I'm sorry, universe. It is real. I trust you. I trust that it's real. All right. So the Akashic story. Back whenever I quit my job, I traveled to Brazil. I was in Brazil for, 2 months, a little over 2 months. And I came across the idea of the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records are essentially this information field which holds the subtle imprint of everything that's ever occurred in the history of the universe. So you can look at this actually from a quantum physics perspective where even through quantum entanglement, any little thing that occurs, anything you do, even if I pick up a pencil, if I throw it across the room, there is a energetic vibration that is connected to that. And because of entanglement, every single atom is entangled with every other atom. And so if you're looking at this from a scientific perspective, quantum entanglement proves that the Akashic Records exists. So if you're not as physics, scientifically minded, all you need to take from this is that there's essentially this information library of infinity that exists and holds the information of everything that's ever happened in your entire life, my entire life, the whole entire planet's life, the history of the universe, essentially. So what I did is I came across this idea when I was in Brazil about, what would it be, probably 7 months ago at this point, 7 or 8 months. And what happened was I sat down on this little knoll. Now, a problem that I was having in my life is I was finding that I was very attracted to a specific type of porn. Now, this is something I haven't shared on the podcast, but what the type of porn was is essentially like group gangbang, which would just be like, one woman and a bunch of dudes. And for some reason, I was very attracted to it. I was magnetized towards it. I couldn't figure out why. There was a level of, bigger dicks were also like, kind of just give it to her. I'm sorry, guys. This is really kind of uncomfortable for me to share, but I'm going to push through it. We're going to make it happen. Um, and something about that just was mind blowing to me because, through this entire journey, I was thinking to myself, like, I started to see the world as this buildup of trauma, right? Like there was traumatic events that had happened in my childhood that were playing out into my current reality. And so there was this level of healing those. And I felt like, or I knew that I healed all those. And yet none of them were related to this idea of, let's say, gangbanging with regards to, a female and men. And so I couldn't figure it out. And I thought to myself, well, why not consult this ever eternal library of infinite knowledge? So whenever I was in Brazil, I decided to put on this meditation, which basically gets you into a relaxed state, gets you grounded, and then takes you into the Akashic records. So I'm on this little grassy knoll. I put on the meditation. I'm flipping open the book. They have you go into like the library. And as a side note, the reason it's a library is because as humans, a library is a store of knowledge and you can access things from it. So that's why we visualize the Akashic records as a library. That's a whole different conversation. And so, I wanted to find the book of my soul. And so I went up, I grabbed the book off the shelf, opened it up, found that my name was Igor. I actually resisted it at the time, which was later confirmed about 2 weeks ago. Then I asked it. I said, I have this addiction with porn. Why is that? The pages flip open and I see a guy just beaten to shit, looked like he was whipped, clothes are torn, everything. And he's chained up on a wall, kind of like on his knees, bent over, arms above his head, chained up to this stone wall. And I'm looking at him and there's this, it's almost like you're in a dream where you get this just instant download of information. And that instant download was, okay, this is me. And I'm being punished. And so, that's all that's shown. And then, my soul or me now was like, okay, well, what's happening? Like, why, what was it? Something happened that I turned and I could see, and I turned and I saw that there was basically this table. And on this table was a woman getting, gangbanged. And I said, and then this instant download came in again, which was like, that's your wife. And I was like, what the fuck? I was just blown away by that. And I was like, whoa. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I was like, why would I be chained up here and my wife be getting gangbanged on this table? And whew, a lot of energy coming up. I don't know if you guys can feel it. And what then occurred is that I was like, why did this happen? The book flips again. Because remember, I'm, this spiritual being looking at a book in the pages and visualizing these events. The pages of the book flip again, and I am now that man looking at a king. And I don't really know what words were said, but then I just see myself turn away from the king. And in that instant, I knew that I told the king the truth, but not the entire truth, out of fear of repercussions. So the instantaneous download I got was that I was not being 100% honest with this king or fully authentic. And so therefore what ended up happening is my wife got gangbangs and I got beat probably to death. I don't really know how that life ended, which would actually be an interesting thing to go back and look at that past life. Huh. Wow. I just thought about that now. I'm going to have to put a note on that. Regardless, let's keep moving forward with it. Let me see, where was I? I didn't know how that life ended up. The wife was, send me some energy. Where was I in the story? Oh, and so then I did some like childhood inner healing trauma where I just like basically consulted myself as if I was that man. I was like, it's all good. Like, this is why this is happening. Like, let's just be more honest in the future. And as a side note, it's also crazy because that's something that I've also been quote unquote kind of struggling with in my life, was being completely honest with people. So, it's amazing how all this shit is intertwined. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, hey, like, this is cool. Like, it's not 100% your fault. This is a learning experience. We're going to learn from this. We're going to grow. We're going to heal, blah, blah, blah. I felt resolved from it. And I even like kind of came out of the Akashic records at that point. The meditation kind of ended. And then I like saw a like probably 85 to 90% reduction in me going to that hole of porn and seeing that, whatever you want to call it, that descriptive place of porn. I like in my physical reality in this world, this whatever we're talking about now, whatever reality this is that you're receiving this message, I saw like an 85 to 90% reduction in it. So first of all, take that for what it is. If you don't want to believe it, fine. I don't know what to tell you. Anecdotal, sure, whatever. Throw it all out there. But to me, that signifies that this actually happened. Now, ready for where it starts to get weird and why I'm bringing this up again? So that was something that I've kind of been quote unquote struggling with recently and healing and using to back away from porn a lot more. And so why this gets interesting is what happened on the night of 5/12 to 5/13, which is May 12th to May 13th. I had a dream. Now, I'll come back to it. So there's a whole bunch of like numerical significance to this story, but I'll come back to it in a second. Now, here's the dream that I had. And you take it for what you want to take it for. In short, if anyone has seen the movies Bruce Almighty or The Mask starring Jim Carrey, shout out Jim if you listen for some reason, I had this embodiment that I was the culmination of Bruce Almighty and The Mask, which should make me this just overpowering god of sorts, right? And I'm just going to spare you guys all the details, but I was basically doing shit that signified that I was God mixed with The Mask. Now, what happened is after realizing my incredible godlike abilities, I see a girl coming out of a restaurant. Now, this girl is a girl in my actual physical 3D reality of 2022 and, this reality. And we're not going to use her name. So she comes out of a restaurant. She was on a date and it didn't go well. And we start talking. And then these guys, probably about 5 guys, come out from behind me on my left-hand side, maybe 6. And one of them, or 3 or 4 of them start grabbing her, and one guy grabbed me. And this whole like download happened where I was like, holy shit, they're about to rape her. And the one guy holding me basically was like taunting me and just like holding me back. And no matter what I did, no matter what I could have done, I couldn't help this girl. And I woke up at this point. And whenever I woke up, the very next thought I had was of that Akashic record story. And I was like, no fucking way. No fucking way. I was like, you have to be out of your damn mind that this is actually how this is playing out. And if you haven't put the pieces of that story together yet, this girl in my current present reality of 2022 in the United States of America was this chick who was back in my life as my wife years ago. So what do you do if you're in that situation? Ask yourself that. What do you do, or what would you do if you found yourself in a position where you knew the person in today's world who was the reincarnation of your past wife from thousands of years ago that you lied to a king, which ultimately ended up in her getting gangbanged and raped, and then you guys reincarnated on Earth at the same time to maybe learn a lesson together. And mind you, this girl has roughly been a part of my life, at all stages of my life. I'll just put it at that. I want to keep it ambiguous. How fucking crazy is that? What do you do? Seriously, think about it. Think about that for a second. What would you do? Now what's crazy is I also have, I'm just going to leave it at that. Maybe we don't. Let's just leave it at that. I don't want to go too much deeper into the story. Maybe in the future I will, but we're going to leave it at that for that story. And if you ask me, yeah, I 100% believe that that girl was my wife in a past life. And, so, uh, so now taking that story and let's apply it to some numerology shit that I saw the day after. So May 13th, it was Friday the 13th. Let me read you one numerology thing that just stood out to me. Number one, in Pythagorean numerology, Pythagorean, sorry about that. I'm getting juiced up. In Pythagorean numerology, 13 is considered a karmic debt number. Think about that story. 13 is a karmic debt number. I'm sure some karmic debt was built up by lying to a king and then your wife getting brutally raped and gangbanged, and you get to watch. There has to be some karmic debt in that, right? Moving along. This is neither good nor bad. Well, there's no such thing as good or bad, right? I think we all, if you listen to this, there's no such thing as good or bad. We can debate that all you want, whatever. It just speaks to karma carried over from a previous lifetime. What is going on? Yep. 13 adds up to the builder energy of 4. And so 4 is like the master number, which is like 1 plus 3. So 13, 1 plus 3 is 4. So 13 adds up to the builder energy of the 4, meaning in a previous incarnation, you went against your spiritual self, lying, cough, cough, in the pursuit of material gains. Now, I have no idea what the consequence was of me lying to the king. I don't really know if it was actually for material gains. But how fucking crazy would that be if it was material gains? Seriously, think about that. What if in the story I actually knew that I got like some gold? I mean, and here's the thing, right? If my wife was brutally murdered, put yourself back into medieval times. If you did something that got you chained up, beaten the shit out of, and your wife brutally murdered, there probably had to be some form of material gains in which I lied about in order to get to that shit. I don't know. That's hypothetical. Okay. Maybe I'm stretching there. I'll take it if you say that that's stretching. I haven't had any confirmation on that yet, but I don't know. Maybe it was money. I had a little bit of a money block in this incarnation. So if you told me that I lied in order to get more money from the guy and then all that happened, I would not be surprised. And maybe that actually happened because that resonates with me as I said it out loud. Oh gosh, guys, it's just, I don't even know. I don't even know what to tell you guys about this. Like, it's just crazy to me at this point. All right. Now, if that wasn't crazy enough, on an Instagram story, I also saw someone post this. So Mercury is I guess in retrograde and eclipses are kind of occurring. So they posted this thing on their story. Oh, I don't know why. I thought it was a lot more resonant at the time. Well, there was like an intersection. It's basically a Venn diagram, and it says Mercury retrograde on the side, and then eclipses on the other side. And in the middle, it says basically distort time, which I feel like if you're getting flashbacks from a previous lifetime, that's pretty big time distortion. Create drama, which I don't know if it's particularly resonates with this exact situation, but just putting that out there. And then X's resurrect. So, I guess an ex-wife in your previous life, I guess counts as an ex, but I don't know. Just putting that out there. I for some reason that hits a little differently now. I put a screenshot in here to bring it up, but shit, man. Whew. Chew on that for a little bit. Let me know how you feel. Because I don't know what to tell you. I seriously don't. I have no words for that entire situation other than absolutely incredible. Like, dude, like, honestly, take a second. Like, even if, hypothetical, universe, listen, I'm just speaking hypothetically. I know that it actually occurred. Hypothetically, if that never occurred, isn't it just amazing to contemplate that and to I don't know, think about, I guess, like the potentiality that actually had this consequence in this past life that then carried over to have this reincarnated. I feel like this could be a damn movie. Someone get back to me on that. We're making a movie out of this. I'll star. I'll fucking act the shit out of that. I know how to set it up too. Anyhow, let's get back with our regular programming. I'm going down a rabbit hole. Love it. All right. Speaking of Akashic Records, I don't know if I brought this up last week, but I'm actually going through an Akashic Record training. So I'm going to become a certified Akashic Record reader, which I don't know. I guess that can verify all this shit, but I don't need to verify it. Sorry, universe. I'm still kind of playing with you. My apologies. I know it's real. I know that actually happened. Oh, got a little light orb. Thanks. So what this means is I'm on my second week now, or I just did my second week. The third week will be on Monday, third confirmation, let's say. Yeah, it's pretty dope. So watch out if you need your Akashic Records read and me to drop this absolute insane knowledge on you and you have these life-changing pivotal moments. I can't wait to help you because that's the path I'm headed down. So you know somebody. Also who my teacher is the girl that I interviewed, Akashic Danny West, on episode 29. So go check that one out. Absolutely incredible story as well. If you thought that was crazy, she's got some pretty crazy stories too. But honestly, I think my story is probably a little bit crazier if I have to think about it. Yeah, hers are dope. Don't get me wrong. Hers are super dope. If you believe my story, you'll believe hers, but they're still like, oh shit, like go listen to it. Episode 29, Akashic Danny. Yeah, so I'm doing that. I'll be certified, I guess, within 5 weeks or 3 weeks, unless I have to actually do it on X people. I think I might have to work with 30 people for free before I become certified. I'm not really sure, but I'm in week 2 of training. There's 5 weeks. We'll see what happens. Excuse me. Okay. Now, this is a little bit of a business. Actually, let's stick with the healing. Let's stick with traumas. Let's stick with healing. Because this was something that came up recently. I got exposed in that Akashic reading on Monday to my, let's say, the boundaries, the idea of boundaries. This has been coming up for a lot of people. So listen up, guys, if you're having issues with boundaries and setting boundaries. Basically, I was having issues. Let me think about how to articulate this. In my life, I've been a very direct person. I've had no problem telling people how it is. And in the last probably 10-ish months of my life, I've been trying to swing the other side of too caring and whatnot. Or not too caring. Yeah, maybe too caring. More emotionally, intuitionally based kind of feeling, all that shit. And I've realized, obviously, that there's a middle ground, right? You need to have it's like a gentle assertion of your boundaries is the way you need to figure it out. And so what happened is that there was actually a part in our training session on Monday, session 2, where the question was proposed is like, how do you set healthy boundaries? And I kind of didn't have an answer for it. And it was like, okay, well, like what wisdom do I need in order to set healthy boundaries with a gentle assertion? And I really meditated on it and I couldn't find an answer whatsoever. Oh, it's still recording. All right, guys, something weird happened there. So if you hear a weird like glitch or lag or something, well, I'm going to have to fix that in the editing. So I need to figure out where the fuck I was. Well, I guess we're back. Number 1. So what was I talking about? That has never happened before in the middle of a catch up with Clayton episode. So that's a new one for me, guys. All for new stuff, right? Oh yeah, I was talking about boundaries and actually this crazy thing I figured out how to communicate with trees, by the way, which is crazy. Watch Fantastic Fungi or go check out my TikTok because I actually have a video about how you can communicate with trees. No shit, no bullshit. 100% truth. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I wanted to talk about essentially was let me just get back to the meta idea, which is essentially like as you clear traumas throughout your life, it like opens up new pathways for your personal evolution. And I saw this because I did my whole little tree talking thing. Again, go check out my TikTok if you want to know how. And what occurred is that I had this like surge of energy to work on, kind of the business aspect, like creating the app that I'm going to be putting out there actually pretty soon now. And it was so bizarre because I went through all this healing in the last 2 days, all this like awareness, setting boundaries, understanding where like these lines needed to be placed kind of in the sand, or not in the sand, but in the concrete, maybe in the sand, we'll call it in the sand. And by expressing that and seeing opportunities come up, like, I expressed these boundaries, and then the universe is like, all right, you're ready for the next level. And then gave me this surge of energy to work on the app. And I was able to check off all of these things just like that, so fast, incredibly fast. And so this all goes to say is like, I mean, shouldn't be rocket science here, but if you're feeling yourself trapped at something and you can't get past a certain level, whether it's business or whether it's like, it was business for me, but yet this thing was about setting boundaries. How the fuck is that shit intertwined? I have no idea, but that's how this shit works. I don't know. I don't know where to go with that. I kind of lost my train of thought whenever this kind of cut in, but that was basically the core of what I was trying to get at. The other spiritual lesson I was trying to get to, or I'm going to get to, because here we go, is the power of niching down. So this was something that was always kind of taught to me. And if you've ever tried to start a business, you've probably heard this yourself. And it comes from the core concept of like, if you try to help everyone, you help no one. And it never quite stuck with me until this experience. I started reading a book that is made for mothers and daughters. And again, in case you're not aware, I'm a single 28-year-old male. So I am the exact opposite demographic of a book that's made for mothers and daughters. Yet I was still able to gain knowledge from it. There was still information in there that I have to now consider for my next stage of evolution, let's say. And so I found it really fascinating how, even though you niche down, you can still quote unquote help everyone. And I think the lesson in it is that you are everyone. Like, you're all one. So like, if you're trying to help one specific person, you're helping everybody because you're helping that one specific person. This is one of those paradoxes of the universe. Just wanted to bring that up. Let's keep it going because I'm kind of losing my steam, I think, after that cut in. I was pretty on a roll there, I thought, for a second. But let's keep going. New relationship shoutouts. So this day was a couple interesting relationships. The first one is Mark Stevies of Alt Media United. Mark, shout out to you. Alt Media United, and this could be something that you guys are actually interested in, is for... Am I getting a FaceTime call now? Jeez, man. How do I... Can't even block this. And all right. All right. Jeez, dude. I don't know what's going on. Maybe the world's telling me I need to wrap this up. Okay, well, Alt Media, I'll be quick about this. Alt Media United is basically this conglomerate of spirituality, conspiracy theory podcasts. So go check it out, but it's super cool. Yeah, I'm honestly not vibing to actually do all this, so maybe I just won't. It's a pretty cool story about working as a communicator between an app and a program. Just go check out Alt Media United. Maybe that's all I'm supposed to tell you about. Yeah, that's probably an ego thing. I'm not going to tell you that story because that's ego. Kevin, if you're listening, shout out to you. I just want to make that comment right there because I was going to tell your whole story, but I have a feeling it's going to come off a little bit ego driven if I actually tell it. So Kevin, I hope you made it to DC. Other than that, I'll just leave that at that. And the last thing I want to mention, guys, I'm going to leave you on this quote. I went to a yoga practice in downtown Pittsburgh, and at the end of it, the yoga instructor, Mirage, she left me with this saying, and it's going to be the saying that I leave you guys with today. A bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. Conscious monkeys, let's continue to grow together.